This is Baris Ozistek from Netmarble, who's here to talk about Hypercasual 2.0. Baris, are you in the house? There we go. Fantastic. So do join us. Like before, if you have any questions about the talk that Baris is going to give, do drop it in there. You'll find the button for the Q&A at the bottom of the window, and I'll keep track of those and put them to you there. Baris, welcome.
Hello. Very good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to recede into the background. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be with you here. Of course, it was really fun to participate all the offline events and meet with everyone face to face and have some drinks. But I think we are get accustomed to the new world, the new reality. So let me share our approach about hypercasual games, and we call it Hypercasual 2.0. I'll try to explain what we do in hypercasual market, and also I'll try to explain a bit about Netmarble. So let me share my screen. So let me first share about the history of Netmarble. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Netmarble, but we are more dominant in Asia. So I always want to give a brief information about our history. So we have more than 6,000 people all over the world. Our headquarters is based in Korea. So in most of the Asian countries, we have offices like Japan, China, Taiwan, Indonesia, Thailand. But in the Western Hemisphere, we have offices in Turkey and United States. Netmarble was founded on 2000, so it is the 20th year since the establishment. In 2006, Netmarble became one of the top 3 publishers in Korea and in global as well. And then there was an acquisition investment by CJ at that time. After the CJ acquisition, for a period of time, you may hear our name as CJ Games, then switched to Netmarble back again. And especially on 2013, we made a major shift to mobile game industry. We were dominant in PC game, especially mid-core, hardcore games, and shift to mobile was a major topic at that time on 2013. And such a big PC game developer and publisher moving to mobile, many people were curious, especially in Asia, but it ended up with a huge success. Our first successful mobile game was Cha-Cha-Cha. At that time, I was in Korea, and I remember the sound of Cha-Cha-Cha coming from everywhere. I remember more than 10 million people were playing this game in Korea. Please remember, the total population is 50 million. So the other successful games followed, like Mmorpg, Seven Knights, Stone Age, and we had investments partners from Tencent and NCSoft. Then since 2016, Netmarble is pretty active in acquisitions as well in the gaming industry. So Gem City, formerly the name was SGN, was acquired by Netmarble. Then Kabam and also the BTS, the owner of the BTS. Netmarble made a major investment and then published the popular game BTS World. So let's jump into the hypercasual games. As I mentioned, Netmarble is a dominant player in the mid-core and hardcore genre. We are really strong, especially in terms of RPG game development and publishing. That means we are strong in live operations. And coming to the hyper-casual, of course, it has major differences. So what we see in hyper-casual games is simple. It's very easy to download. Mostly they have single mechanic, minimalistic user interface design, and mostly give a sense of satisfaction to the players. But as a result of that, what we see, there is a huge growth in terms of number of players in the hyper-casual genre. So that's the reason of this hype. So the goals are very clear, very simple. The onboarding process is very fast for the users, and the players, they don't need to build complicated strategies to understand and play the game. And as a result of that, when we check the mobile game market, what we see is people mostly play mobile games while doing at home, doing multitasking or waiting someone during the transportation, just a break at work or at school. So hyper-casual games perfectly fit with the market need, and as a result of that, last year, when we checked the top downloaded 20 games, which means over 2 billion downloads, 78% of these games were hyper-casual. So I believe this is pretty significant. So that's the reason of the hype on the developer side. These numbers show the reason why many, especially indie game developers and also the large publishers such as Netmarble are entering this field. But let me share a more important data for you. So according to this data, as you can see, almost half of the mobile game market, hyper-casual gamers. So I believe that is pretty significant. 20% of the new gamers are coming from hyper-casual games. So we are talking about 100 million people coming into the game market, game industry, thanks to the hyper-casual games. So the major growth reason of the mobile game market in terms of the gamers, number of gamers, is the hyper-casual genre. But of course, we see a huge potential here in terms of the players' expectations and the players' growth, players' journey in the game industry. Hyper-casual is perfect for the players who play a first time, a second time game experience, for the ones who rarely play games. But after they start playing, they get engaged, they get accustomed. We are sure they will be expecting deeper content, variety of content, and more more experience. So, as a result of that expectation and this vision, and also we see that's happening. So we have defined a strategy as Hypercasual 2.0. Yeah, we are known as masters of RPG. We have games like Seven Nights, our blockbuster game, one of our blockbuster game, Lineage to Revolution, another IP from Netmarble, Stone Age. I mean, we have plenty of IPs, very strong RPG titles, and we know the successful data of all these games. I believe this is the most important part. What I have seen in the gaming industry, whenever someone is a hardcore gamer, they think that they know all the game industry. They are expert in games, but that's not true. The true part is, if you are expert in gaming, that means you have to know the KPIs. You have to know the data analytics of the game. So we all see many games, with successful images, with successful, with beautiful videos. But just a few of them reach a huge success. And on the Netmarble side, we know which feature serves for which KPI. We know whenever we add a feature, if it increases the retention, if it increases the monetization, if it decreases the churn. So we know all the data of all these type of games. And obviously RPG games, Mmorpg games, they include all the features whatever we see in the game industry. So what we have decided is, we know all the data from the RPG games. We know which features serve for which KPI, and we know the players. So if we combine the good and strong sides of these RPG games with the strong sides of hyper-casual games, then we can fulfill the expectations of the players. So we can expect better results. That's our idea, combine our know-how in these mid-core, hardcore titles with the strong size of hyper-casual games. So just to have an overview, in a typical hyper-casual game, mostly very easy core gameplay, very simple meta or even doesn't exist. And as a result of this, we see low retention, especially on the day 14, day 30, retention rates are pretty low, and pretty low retention, long-time value LTV. And mostly the revenue comes from in-app advertisements. But the good part, the strong side, the CPI, cost per install is really low in the hyper-casual games. The onboarding process is very easy, so players can be engaged to the game very easily. It doesn't require maintenance or just low maintenance, and the production time, which means the cost of the development, is pretty low. So this is typical hyper-casual. On the typical Netmarble way, developing a game, we are very strong in mid-core and hardcore gameplay, which means the content is extremely rich. As a result of that, we have high retention, high LTV, and the business model in-app purchase and sometimes subscription. But when you have such variety of content, that means you may have high CPI costs. Of course, the production time gets longer and longer, which means any production becomes very expensive, and that type of games, of course, require live ops. And our approach for Hypercasual 2.0, we are aiming again easy core gameplay, a better content, and I can call it a mild meta, and mediocre retention and medium LTV. And a typical hyper-casual 2.0 game should have in-app purchase, in-app advertisement, and subscription all together. And the target is the game should have low CPI as hyper-casual. It may have a bit longer production life cycle compared to a hyper-casual. Again, it should have low maintenance. That is our strategy, that's our target. So we are working with many studios to develop hyper-casual 2.0 games. We think the future of hyper-casual, the margin is becoming tight every day. So the CPI costs are rising, competition is rising. So hyper-casual games should need to increase their LTV, and that's why we think hyper-casual 2.0 is a solution for that. And also on the player side, players, hyper-casual games are great if you are a first-time player. But if you start playing games every day, half an hour, 1 hour every day, then the changing the game every day you play, it may not be a good idea. It's not a good feeling for the player. That's why combining these games with some RPG features, it will also increase the experience of the player as well. And to solve this tight margin issue, we expect a higher LTV. Higher LTV will not come only from the in-app advertisement. So in-app purchase and subscription revenue should also be included. That means in a short period of time, let's say a year, we will see in-app advertisement, in-app purchase and subscription revenue distribution as 60-30, 10% approximately. And the development cycles will be like 2 months, in 2 to 3 months soft launch, 4 to 6 months ground launch with the iterations, with a small team, but a longer period, including all these iterations. But of course, on the production side, again, for Hypercasual 2.0, what we do, we keep testing the prototypes, video assets, mechanics before starting the development. But when the development starts, it takes a bit longer, and it includes a variety of features and variety of monetization models. So to do this, we are working with indie developers, and especially with the developers who are willing to develop Hypercasual 2.0. We know some of the developers are highly interested in developing only Hypercasual games, and they have their own methodology to do this. I respect that. But on the other hand, some of the developers, they want to develop games with deeper content, a bit better quality, and variety of monetization features. So especially we are working with these type of developers, and so we can put our know-how, years of experience to develop the best Hypercasual 2.0 games for today and for the future. We do lots of activities, by the way. Till now, we are mostly working with the studios from Turkey, Eastern Europe, some Middle East, some Asian countries, but we are open globally. We are open to work with any studio from Europe, from South America. We are open to all studios. We can work with all studios with the same mindset, with the same vision, with the studios who share the same vision with us. We do lots of activities. We have an accelerator. We have specific game verticals. We are supporting the studios in the region. We are also supporting indie game developers for educational games, especially in this time period. We have supported the game studios to develop games for health, games for hygiene. Through our accelerator, we also do investment or collaborations, or individually we can discuss with the studios one by one. We support them for the development, or we can also discuss investment opportunities as well. So that's how we do. We have a program called Netmarble Hyper Hits. So whenever we agree with a studio, especially whenever we agree with studio to work exclusively, and we support them in terms of the development, then we assign a fully dedicated publishing manager. So we support in terms of game design, test, analytics. We do all the user acquisition tests. We share the data, everything transparently, very often on a weekly basis, and we allocate all our resources to coach the studio, so to work with them. So our idea is to become a partner with the studio. So at the end of the day, we are partners. The studios and the publishers, we are all partners. We are developing the game all together. Sometimes we give the idea, sometimes the studio creates all the idea. Studio develops the game, but whenever needed, our development team joins the forces and help for optimization or just to accelerate everything. We help on the game art as well. So in a nutshell, we become with the studios. We join our forces to develop the next big hit on the Hypercasual 2.0. Well, thank you very much for listening to me. Of course, I'm here to answer any question.
Thank you, Baris. That's fantastic. Really interesting. Really interesting about how you're applying the knowledge that you have in RPGs to enhance the hyper-casual experience. And also, I thought it was fascinating that all these new gamers that we hear about, 20% of them are coming from hyper-casual area. That's great. We've got about 4 questions in the Q&A, so I'm going to put these to you. We have a little time. If anyone else here would like to ask questions, please do use the Q&A box at the bottom there, and I'll try to get them to Baris. So, firstly, we were asked by Avinash whether you're able to share any examples of success in particular, I guess the specific examples of success in MMORPG plus hyper-casual, which you're showcasing.
Yeah, well, we have a game called City Bus. It's pretty popular nowadays in China, especially this year. It's getting more and more popular in China. So to the City Bus, we have added a couple of features from RPG, and now the new features are coming. With the new features, we will open the new build to the Western market as well. Now the game primarily popular in China. But what I can say, which type of features we are adding to the new coming games. Of course, ranking, but the ranking in the hyper-casual games, most of the games, yes, some ranking exists, but very simple. We are now adding more complicated ranking features to these hyper-casual games, which means it doesn't touch to the onboarding process where the hyper-casual games are very strong. But for the late gamers, it gives a good content. We are also bringing some social communication tools, kind of live features to the games. So that type of things, a couple of examples.
That's great, thank you. Avinash also asks, what are the top criteria that Netmarble looks for in an indie who may wish to partner with Netmarble?
Well, development capability. But whenever I say development capability, don't misunderstand me. I'm not only talking about coding, I'm talking about game design. So for us, the most powerful side of a game studio is the game design part. So whenever I say development capability, I'm talking about game development capability. So if a studio is really good in game design, understanding of the KPIs and designing of the game according to the KPIs, according to the metrics in a creative way, that's a good and talented studio. On top of it, technical development capability, yeah, it can be supported, but it's hard to support the creative and game design part. So that's the core function of a game studio, I believe.
We've got a number of questions, but I just want to skip ahead to one that seems relevant to your last answer. Division 1 asks, what should a developer then expect from a publisher? And what's the ideal collaboration between you and them? And what do you offer?
Well, first of all, whenever we assign a dedicated team, this team is dedicated to share all our know-how. So we have to understand which type of know-how we have. The know-how we have is, yes, we have years of experience and we have successful data of successful games. That is the critical part. So everyone knows what retention rate means, what churn means. Everyone knows what buying user rate, ARPPU. But many people, they don't know which feature serves for the ARPPU, which feature serves for the retention rate, which feature for the day 30, which feature for the day 7. So we have this know-how. So having this know-how, we allocate the team to work with the game developers so they can optimize their game, they can polish their game, or they can discuss what should be the next big game, what should be the future game based on the KPIs, based on the success data. So my team, they don't share knowledge based on their general learnings or assumptions. They share their know-how based on KPI, based on data they have. That is our the biggest value that we share with the developers.
And actually, a relevant question here from another anonymous attendee who's asked a couple of things, actually. But one of the questions that this person has asked is, are you able to share KPI examples from your successful releases in the US? Is that something you can talk about?
Well, KPI, I mean, too many KPIs, of course. But for Hypercasual 2.0, I can say our biggest success cases are from China till now. We hope that these games coming to the Western market will also have good success cases. But mostly our success is to increase the ARPPU and the LTV. So our major success comes from the increasing monetization, which is expected, I believe, because we know this because of RPG experience.
Ertan Gulen asks, says, thank you for your presentation. It was full of very interesting information, which I would agree with. Could you please share some examples of specific Hypercasual 2.0 games? Would you consider Archero as Hypercasual 2.0, for instance?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Archero is a perfect case for 2.0, Hypercasual 2.0. I believe we have on the same page, but they were faster, they're quicker to be successful, to have a global success. I think it's a perfect example for Hypercasual 2.0. I agree.
Thank you. Another an anonymous attendee asks about the studio Plegendary has been doing similar things, Hypercasual 2.8 style games for quite some time by combining what you've been speaking about, RPG options, and supporting it with live ops. How do you differ from them? What's your difference from them?
Well, I know I don't studio play which company?
Plegendary, like legendary, but play.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge market. I mean, I believe we don't need to differentiate. So and what I love in the gaming industry is we don't have a ugly competition. We are all friends. We are in a huge market, and which is the mobile game market is growing over 13% every year. So in such a market, of course, I'm not saying we have the only vision with Hypercasual 2.0. Some companies also call this hybrid casual, which also I agree. So we are not the only one developing Hypercasual 2.0 or hybrid casual games. So I believe the companies who are in this industry and who are willing to develop that type of games, they will be the winners for the next couple of years, because the trend is moving. Yes, Hypercasual games acquired hundreds of millions of users to the industry. Now these users will expect better content, deeper content, and they will be ready for some monetization. They will be ready, some of them at least will be ready to pay some. So the feature of these Hypercasual genre will be Hypercasual 2.0 or hybrid casual. Of course, we will not be the only one. I'm sure there will be tons of companies doing that in a successful way.
Well, exactly. A rising tide lifts all ships, right? Well, we've also had one final question from Anthony Ball, who's asked, will you be sharing copies of your slides? I don't know whether
of course. Of course, we can share with you, so you can you can share however you wish.
Great, thank you. And if people want to catch up with Baris to ask further questions, I'm sure maybe they can reach out to you via the meeting platform, or
Yeah,
catch you in
definitely.
some other way. That's perfect. Look, Baris, thank you very much. I thought that was absolutely fascinating. I'm going to give you a round of applause. You'll have to imagine that it's coming from all the people who are watching remotely.
Thank
But
you very
thank you.
much.
But
It was
thank
my
you. Thank you
pleasure.
very much. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye
So
bye.
bye bye. So thank you for that. What a great presentation there from Netmarble.